agreement we reviewed, with the exception of eliminating the scaled amounts in there. The body of the agreement is pretty solid. One of the things that we have worked on regarding this last year compared to years before, we wanted to make sure that we were not in a position that we had to close down amenities or features within the park due to a lack of staffing or of lifeguards. And this year that was accomplished, made sure that the focus on the hiring and scheduling and management of that staffing, because we did have a couple of occasions and times before they'd have to shut a slide down because guards were there they could come in, etc. It's always a struggle. Every municipality that's got a pool in the region has difficulties in hiring lifeguards. But we seem to have really found the magic formula, and really hired on some great folks and great kids, high school kids, college kids, and adults alike, and they're already in the process and moving through. That's one of the advantages of having the YMCA and having their aquatic programs through the winter as well, being able to tap into the resources of the folks and be able to provide the training for the lifeguards and getting it up and running before the season actually begins. So that was one of the issues that we wanted to bring about, and we think that has certainly been managed well. Overall, some would criticize that there is a cost to operating it, that it doesn't completely self-sustain. I don't know anybody that's got a golf course or a swimming pool that completely generates a profit. It's amenity. Tom Cloud Park loses tenfold the money that the Croker Aquatic Center does, and that certainly isn't because of any type of management. There's a cost to it. It's a minimal cost to the community to be able to go in, and we offset the operational cost. But we certainly don't have a situation where we are bringing in gate revenue and other things to totally do it. That's where we have to get creative in other things, sponsorships, reducing our operational costs, et cetera, to match that down. And as we illustrated tonight, although technically the amenity cost the community $46,000, based on sponsorships, you reduce that down $35,000. For the cost within our park system to offer that amenity to the community, I think it's pretty good value. But nonetheless, it doesn't challenge us to always look for other opportunities to enhance those sponsorships. Some of the discussions that we had, a debriefing after this year going to next year, is looking at some of the coordinated sponsorships between our other amenity across the street in the Rose Music Center and into that. Being able to tap into some of those leverages and bring some additional sponsorship opportunities and face and touch point exposure to our captive audience at the Aquatic Center as well, to some of those great sponsors. So we look forward to hoping to increase that side of the revenue and continue to do things. So the question is, as we had last time around, if this is an amenity that we wanted to seek out, quotes or bids, I certainly think that it serves our community well because YMCA is a staple in the community. It is integrated, and I think having that community component, that quasi-nonprofit, quasi-governmental type of approach, understanding and knowing how both the accounting and also how both the service elements go rather than a private industry, I think it serves us well to do that. And I certainly think that it has worked well. But if council would prefer that we seek out bids and go through that process, then we need to begin that process. But it certainly is our comfort level that we continue on the path that we have been on the last 5 years and look at renewing this agreement.
I think so. For an $11,000 cost, basically, I mean, if Cloud Park cost the city $11,000, I think we'd all be doing backflips.
True.
Any questions for Mr. Schoen regarding the Y agreement with the Aquatic Center? Mr. Shaw?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over the past 5 years, I believe the agreement totals roughly north of $135,000. And of that, before I would be comfortable, I would have to ask, what are the reasons we are not going out and looking at professional bids? I mean, you mentioned some of the lifeguards, the accounting, and things of that nature. Are we as a city able to, I guess, comfortably say that the YMCA is a sole source vendor in this?
Yes.
I mean, because honestly, if that's where we're at, then I would almost like to see that in the legislation.
It would be for sure.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Because that makes it a lot easier when I'm going back to my constituents and they're asking, why was that not put out to bid? Well, the YMCA is the sole source vendor in this particular project. Shuts that down.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
In my opinion. And again, anybody that was to come up and address that council would be met with that statement that would be able to move forward on. Additionally, do we have, and I know there was talks about the numbers, Jim mentioned some of them tonight, do we have the historical figures that we can put up to really take a look and see where we've been at with the capital improvements, with the ticket sales, understand weather plays into a big part because this is an open venue. But additionally, utilizing that data to look at ourselves and say, what can we do different, partnered with the YMCA to get a bigger bang for our buck? I know we talked about some of our sponsorships. Is there an additional capital improvement expenditure there at the aquatic center that we can do? I'm not going to say to enclose it, but to enhance it. Could we get more time out of that? Is there different amenities that we can offer to make that gym, shine a little brighter? Especially with a lot of the development we have up there. Looking into that next 5 years, are we making sure that we're looking outside the box with this partnership with the YMCA on what we can really do? And I guess that's some of the forward-thinking questions that I have, if that makes any sense.
No, it does, and we will be coming back shortly after the first of the year with some recommendations regarding some operations in that particular area and facility. As everybody is fully aware, the newness of it is kind of worn off, and the sensitivity to the effect of the newness to the adjacent area hopefully will allow us to remove some of the barriers that we have had to increasing opportunities, such as time frames, such as use, such as activities, etc. There's a whole list of things that the YMCA has presented to us that they feel that they could do, but based on some of our own rules and restrictions for that facility particularly, and extending out to the Aquaburger, we can't do. So that's going to be part of our plan. Josh has been talking and working, and we'll be bringing that soon. Kind of indirectly touches on a lot of that some of that has to do with enhancing the operation of the aquatic center to A, bring in more people, and B, generate additional revenue. We also look at sponsorships regarding changes and improvements to the physical amenities itself, and chasing some of those opportunities as well. As far as capital investments, there's really not a whole lot more. We're at an advantage having the YMCA as our noted partner of Parks and Recreation and Community Amenity, and us being partners with the Y, not only through the land agreement, but also the Parks agreement and also this YMCA agreement, in the sense that when things do come up, the efficiencies of not having to go through all the bureaucracy of getting things taken care of is greatly enhanced. They're publicly audited. There's a separate audit within our audit process of all of the books, and what that does is that allows them to effectively be our agent. So when there's an operational need, they can go take care of it. It's properly accounted for. It's properly procedured through our processes, and acting as our agent, they can do those things. So as far as other areas that the YMCA could enhance our capital side of things, we'll certainly look for ideas, but that's really more or less on our end, and that's what we're trying to do in expanding and remove some of the obstacles of the actual operation of the facility itself, restricted by time frames, restricted by activities, noise, etc. Those things happen at a productive aquatic facility, and we hope to enhance it.
Yes, Mr. Shaw.
I guess that brings up another question, and maybe I understood it wrong. Would you say that there are policies in place that are almost, we the city are tripping over our own self to improve the facility, that we could alleviate? Whether it be legislatively, new policies put in place to make sure that we are getting the best bang for our buck there.
Yeah, we believe that there are opportunities for additional operation of the facility that go beyond our current rules. Throwing it out just as an example, the ability to rent the facility out to organizations and or groups from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. per se. Once the public part would be closed, those type of things would allow for A, extra revenue, and B, extra use of the facility.
And I would assume that we've had requests for that at some point, maybe.
Yeah, yes, we've had inquiries, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, those are things that I would like to see us consider moving forward. Being the fact that the YMCA is as stated here, a sole source vendor for this, I've got no problem with it moving forward. I've been a critic. There's no denying that of the YMCA in previous years. I think that our marriage has gotten stronger over the past couple of years. I've used that term before. I'll continue to use it. I think conversations have been great. I just want to see what we can do to expand upon that. I don't want to start throwing out different analogies, but I'd like to see this grow and see what it is that we're losing, either by policy, by procedure, tripping over our own feet, or whatever the case may be. And the same thing, I know it's on topic, but a little off topic, but same thing with the Eichelberger. That is another gym that sits there within the YMCA's property purview, and I think it's another unutilized asset here in the city. We have dumped a lot of taxpayer money into it, a lot of revenue, or a lot of funds went into it, and I think we need to see how we can utilize that more as well.
Rob, before we had a conversation about the noise ordinance there, the Eichelberger was kind of what our big issue is right now in terms of time. So is it we had a brief discussion at one of our meetings about that. Is it something we can look more into to see? Because I think we're going to have to increase that ordinance with a decibel limit to be able to really get the maximum.
Yeah, for sure. That's
So
part of those rules adjustments and review and recommendations that we're going to be bringing forward as a discussion shortly after the first of the year.
Okay.
And that's certainly one of the facilities that we want to address to see if we can make some changes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, Mr. Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. Rob, have you begun any revision or any draft on the new agreement from the old agreement?
Yes, in relative, rough, just going over what doesn't apply because the time frame's gone. But substantive changes, not substantive, just more correct for temporal related items.
All right. So, yeah, that was most of the discussion. If you want to watch it, the whole thing, go to hhoh.org, and you will get the entire meeting there on the city's website. But I don't know, there was a glitch in there. I don't know if they edited it or not, but I don't know. So yeah, the thing that stood out to me on this one now, and this discussion stood out to other people too, and I will play that. There's another 10-minute clip that I'm going to play here in a second. It's by former Mayor McMasters. So I'm going to play that here in a couple minutes. But right now, the few things that stood out to me. Sole source vendor. That stood out to me when I first listened to this, and I listened to this live when they were having the meeting. Sole source vendor. So Basically, sole source, single, one, only one person, company, group